That's a good one. Totally calling for that. No. Yes.
Can't even call me. I love this man.
Oh, I love him too.
Jackie, can I?
She's nervous.
We are. I'm so nervous.
Jackie, come on.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Wait, I want to hug him too.
A groom invites his favorite actor to his wedding as a joke days before the ceremony, never actually expecting a reply. A little boy in a homemade costume expects a quick photo and nothing more. A woman stranded on the side of the road in Beverly Hills expects to wait for a tow truck, ignored by everyone honking past her. None of them expected what actually happened next. Keanu Reeves has spent decades quietly turning ordinary moments into the kind of stories people repeat for the rest of their lives. Not because he's performing for anyone, but because showing up seems to be the only setting he knows, regardless of who's watching or whether anyone will ever hear about it afterward. This is the story of the fans who thought they were getting an ordinary day and got Keanu Reeves instead. Let's start with the wedding invitation that was never supposed to be taken seriously, sent on a whim days before the ceremony by two people who assumed it would go straight to a form letter decline. A groom, just days out from his own wedding, sent Reeves an invitation almost as a joke, the kind of long-shot gesture nobody expects to actually land, off in a moment of excitement without any real hope it would go anywhere. Reeves showed up anyway, on the actual day, for photos with the couple, treating a stranger's wedding like it was worth clearing his schedule for, despite having no obligation to do anything more than politely decline. The groom later described it as the cherry on top of an already surreal day, the kind of detail that turns into family legend the moment it happens. Retold at every anniversary for the rest of their marriage, the story that gets told to every new friend who hears about the wedding for the first time.
It's very surreal to kind of get married, and that was a magical day in itself. But then to have Keanu come for photos was kind of like the cherry on top.
Absolutely.
We're on holiday at a family moon,
Yeah.
and it came out in papers, and I've had people at the bar and the restaurant saying,
Wow.
"It's you from..."
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, look,
I'm just a normal.
That instinct showing up for something he was never actually obligated to attend? For people who had no real reason to expect him to say yes shows up again and again once you start looking for it across different decades of his career, in settings as different as a wedding reception and a stalled car on a Beverly Hills street. Take the story of the actress who broke down on a busy street in one of the most expensive neighborhoods in Los Angeles on her way to pick up a script for an audition that could have changed the entire trajectory of her career at a critical, nerve-wracking moment. Her car had stalled in a posh stretch of Beverly Hills, horns blaring behind her, and not a single person around stopped to help. Everyone just driving past the inconvenience like she wasn't even there.
I was on my way to pick up a script to read for an audition, and my car hadn't been washed because I always parked underneath the tree, and there was bird crap all over the back of it. And it broke down like in this very posh area of Beverly Hills, and all of these people were sitting out there and the cars were honking. Nobody would help me.
Then a man in sunglasses and a motorcycle helmet walked over and offered a hand.
Then all of a sudden this guy comes up with his sunglasses and motorcycle helmet, and I knew immediately it was Keanu Reeves.
She recognized him instantly and assumed he'd climb into the driver's seat to help steer while she pushed from behind. Instead, he told her to get in the car, and he pushed the entire vehicle out of the road himself, physically doing the harder job rather than delegating it back to her.
Do you need some help? And I'm like, sure. So I thought he was going to get into the car. I got behind the car to push. He said, no, I'm going to push you out of the street. You get in. So he pushed me out of the street. And then, of course,
the moment people on the sidewalk realized who was pushing the car, the entire crowd that had ignored her moments earlier suddenly rushed over to help, as if his presence alone had given them permission to finally care.
And then, of course, when people saw it was Keanu Reeves helping me, everybody came down to help.
Notice how the stakes climb here already, even within just these first few stories. A wedding invite he wasn't obligated to honor, sent half as a joke by someone who never expected a response. A stranded stranger nobody else on a crowded street was willing to help until he did the actual physical work himself instead of just calling someone else to handle it.
I'm such a big fan.
What's your name?
Noah. My name is Noah.
Hi, Noah. I'm Keanu.
You're probably my favorite actor in the whole world. world.
Oh my gosh,
The
Noah,
best.
thank you. Did you see Duke Kaboom in Toy Story 4?
Yeah, he's my favorite character.
Canada's greatest stuntman. Well, I'm glad you liked it.
A child's homemade costume that most adults would glance at and move past. Each time, Reeves isn't offering the easy, minimal version of kindness, he's doing the version that actually costs him something. Whether that's his schedule, his own physical effort, or simply the extra 30 seconds it takes to crouch down and actually look someone in the eye instead of rushing past. Here's the thing that connects every one of these moments. None of them needed to happen the way they did. Reeves could have sent a signed photo to the wedding instead of showing up in person. He could have called for help instead of physically pushing a stranger's car himself. He could have posed for one quick photo with the boy in the Neo costume instead of getting down on the ground to talk with him properly. Every single time, he chooses the version that takes longer, costs more of his own effort, and gives him nothing in return, except the fact that someone else's day got noticeably, memorably better because of it, in a way they'd likely still be talking about years later. Even his own scheduled travel hasn't been immune to this instinct. In 2019, a flight Reeves was on had to make an emergency landing far from its destination, stranding an entire plane of passengers with no easy way to get where they were going and no clear plan from the airline for how to fix it. Rather than arranging a private solution and leaving everyone else to sort out their own transportation on their own, Reeves joined the group, helped organize shared transport for the whole cabin, and rode along with total strangers for the rest of the trip, keeping the mood light along the way with idle conversation and local trivia about the town they'd unexpectedly landed in.
We'll be here in an hour. So if you want to hit the road and then deal with your bags later, or deal with customer service and get it delivered, maybe.
People who were on that flight still bring up the story years later, not because of turbulence or delays, but because of who they ended up sharing a stressful, disrupted travel day with on what should have been a completely forgettable layover.
Its population is around 380,000, making it the 9th most popular. Gatorade and water.
At JFK Airport in 2022, after landing from an international flight, Reeves skipped the chauffeured car waiting for him outside and instead stood in the baggage claim area, chatting with an airport employee who'd recognized him, answering questions about his trip and posing for a quick photo before walking out through the same exit as every other passenger on the flight, carrying his own bag rather than handing it off to anyone else waiting to take it from him. That pattern holds even when the fan in question is a total stranger with no idea their ordinary errand was about to become a story worth telling for years. A boy in Chicago showed up to a fan convention dressed as Neo from The Matrix, homemade costume and all, expecting maybe a quick photo if he was lucky, standing in line for what might have been hours just for a few seconds of attention. Instead of standing stiffly for a fast snapshot, Reeves crouched down to the boy's eye level, complimented the costume in detail rather than offering a generic compliment, and signed the boy's plastic prop sunglasses, an item that couldn't have cost more than a few dollars to make, but instantly became something the family will probably keep forever, framed or stored away for the boy to show his own kids someday. He's shown the same patience with adults who never expected to be remembered at all, sometimes years after the fact, long after most people would assume the moment had been completely forgotten on both sides. A bookstore employee in Los Angeles once sold him a biography of a famous motorcycle racer, a completely routine transaction that most customers forget within the hour and most celebrities would never think twice about. Years later, at a public signing event, Reeves recognized the employee on site, named the store specifically without any prompting, and thanked them again for the recommendation, the kind of memory that would be unremarkable from almost anyone else, but becomes genuinely startling from someone who meets thousands of strangers every single year and could easily be forgiven for not remembering a single one of them. That same grounded instinct showed up in a completely different, much heavier context. During his sister's long battle with leukemia, Reeves became one of her primary caregivers, stepping into a role that had nothing to do with fame or public appearances and everything to do with simply showing up for someone who needed him out of the public eye for as long as it took. And then there's the story fans still consider one of the most quietly remarkable things he's ever done, precisely because there was no audience for it at all, and no reason to expect it would ever become public. Back in 1997, long before smartphones could capture every celebrity encounter and turn it into a headline within minutes, Reeves stopped what he was doing to sit down on a sidewalk and simply listen to a homeless man's story. No cameras rolling, no publicist nearby, no reason to expect anyone would ever know it happened at all. It only became known years later, the way most of these stories do, because someone who witnessed it decided it was worth telling.
And welcoming. I mean, everything, all the good things you hear about Keanu,
They're
true.
They're actually
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very professional.
I would say the most givingest thing is honestly his commitment, trust, and time. Like, he treats everyone like a professional.
People who've worked with him over the years consistently describe the same core quality when asked about him directly: a level of professionalism, trust, and genuine commitment to the people around him that goes well beyond what the job actually requires of any actor, no matter how famous. Even when danger showed up completely uninvited, that same composure held. Reeves once woke in the middle of the night to find someone standing in his home, a fan who had somehow managed to get inside completely uninvited at an hour when almost anyone would have reacted with pure adrenaline and fear.
Looked up and there was a dark figure in the doorway of the bed. I remember just like looking and just going, and in my head it was like, what's next? Go, no go. What's gonna happen here? It was a woman who just was a fan and wanted to say hi at 4 in the morning.
Rather than reacting with panic or aggression in a genuinely frightening, potentially dangerous situation, he stayed remarkably calm until it was resolved safely. The same steady presence off-screen that's defined so many of his most famous characters on it, proving that the calm wasn't just a performance choice for the cameras. Not every one of these stories is quiet or private. Either some of them play out in front of thousands of people, and he handles those with the exact same instinct. At the TCL Chinese Theater in Hollywood, invited to leave his handprints in cement alongside decades of film history, in one of the industry's oldest and most photographed traditions, Reeves turned what could have been a stiff, formal ceremony into something genuinely playful. Joking with the crowd the entire time, with his former Matrix co-star watching nearby, clearly enjoying the moment rather than treating it as one more obligation on a packed schedule.
Look up while you sign.
At the Canadian Walk of Fame, accepting an honor most people would use as an opportunity to talk about their own career and accomplishments, he spent his moment instead thanking the friends, mentors, and communities that shaped him long before he was famous, redirecting the spotlight away from himself at the exact moment it was pointed most directly at him.
And they may not refund this portion of your ticket. That's a battle you have to take on with the airline.
They'll likely bring it out to the United office.
Even a fellow legend like Jim Carrey has publicly praised him in the highest possible terms, calling him the kind of man other men aspire to be, and Reeves' reaction wasn't to soak in the compliment or accept it gracefully the way most people would. It was visible disbelief that someone he admired that much would say something like that about him at all, needing it repeated back to him before he could really process it.
And here's what Jim had to say to you, what he said to us. He said, "You are the man that every man aspires to be." How does that make you feel?
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did. He said it to us.
Well, he's very kind and he's very generous, and it speaks to his beautiful heart, and the man is a creative genius, right? He's a genius.
That same instinct for genuine connection extends to the people who've worked alongside him for years, long after the cameras stop rolling and the press tour ends. Ana de Armas has spoken about how kind and generous he was toward her early in her career, on a set where she barely spoke English and knew almost no one in a new country, describing him as someone who treated her like a professional from day one, rather than someone who needed to prove herself first.
He's as nice as everybody says.
He is really nice, and he's very generous, and he's just the coolest. And you know, this is my third film with Keanu. I met him like almost 11 years ago when I moved to LA. I barely spoke English, and now, you know, this is kind of like a full circle moment. Like,
yeah, how nice.
It's really special to have him. You know, I met Keanu when he had just finished filming the first John Wick.
Podcast host Joe Rogan, who rarely goes out of his way to praise celebrities and tends to be skeptical of Hollywood in general, has described watching Reeves ride public transit completely unnoticed, dressed like anyone else in ordinary sneakers and a regular watch, blending into a crowd that had no idea one of the most famous actors alive was sitting quietly among them, doing nothing to draw attention to himself.
He sits on the subway by himself. He's got like a regular watch on and sneakers. He's normal as fuck, man.
Yeah.
It's real weird. On the fucking subway, just chilling. You know, and he looks like a totally normal dude. He's figured out a way to just sort of blend
disappear
in.
in plain sight.
And then even if you talk to him, he's just normal. Like everybody that I know that's met him has said the dude's like totally, look at it. He lets his chick sit down, you know? He said, do you want to sit down? Go ahead, boom. And he just stands up. Look at, I mean, even the way he's not, no bodyguard.
Longtime co-star Carrie Ann Moss, reflecting on knowing him for over 2 decades across multiple films and multiple stages of both their careers, has said the same thing in her own words: real, consistent admiration for who he's remained throughout their entire careers together, not just who he plays on screen for a few months at a time.
You know, in the last 20 years, his way of doing it is, you know, I'm in awe of it.
Even physical pain hasn't slowed him down when there was a crew depending on him. While filming a recent project, Reeves suffered a serious knee injury on set, badly enough that it fractured, the kind of thing that would give most performers a completely legitimate reason to step away and let the production adjust its schedule around them without any complaints. He stayed anyway, finishing the day's work rather than leaving his crew to handle the disruption and the lost time without him, treating a genuinely painful injury as an inconvenience to push through rather than an excuse to disappear.
A residence house, and I had there was carpet to protect the floor, and my foot got caught, and I spiked my knee, and it cracked, fractured.
I will say, you doing the movie, keeping going after you hurt your knee, that's pretty angelic behavior.
That's true. I didn't give up. I didn't give up.
You could
I came to the set.
Could have easily been like, hey man, I'm out. See ya.
That same willingness to stop everything for one person shows up even in the middle of chaotic public events, when the easiest thing in the world would be to keep moving with the crowd. On one occasion, surrounded by a packed crowd all trying to get his attention at once, Reeves noticed a fan in a wheelchair positioned at the edge of the group, someone who would likely have been physically unable to push forward the way everyone else was. Rather than letting the moment pass by in the general rush, he stopped everything specifically for that one fan, giving them the same unhurried attention he'd already given dozens of other people that day, treating the interruption not as an inconvenience, but as the actual point of being there in the first place. So, which of these moments surprised you the most? Pushing a stranded stranger's car out of traffic himself instead of just calling for help? Crouching down for a boy's homemade costume instead of rushing through a quick photo? Showing up to a wedding he barely knew he'd been invited to for 2 people who never expected a reply? Or sitting down on a sidewalk in 1997 with no cameras anywhere nearby just to listen to someone the rest of the world had stopped noticing entirely? None of these stories needed an audience to happen the way they did, and most of them almost didn't become stories at all. They exist today because someone else who was there decided later that the moment was worth sharing. That's really the through line connecting a groom's wedding photos, a stranger's stalled car, a boy's homemade costume, and a homeless man's story on a sidewalk nobody else stopped for. An actor who's spent decades treating ordinary people like they matter, whether or not there was ever going to be a camera around to prove it. Let us know in the comments which story you'd want to have happen to you, and if you want more real stories about the kindest surprises in Hollywood, hit subscribe. We've got more of these coming every week.